Have you always wanted to visit Unity Village? Or maybe you long to return? Join the Come Home to Unity Retreat, October 14th to 17th. Meet other Unity people from all over the country. Explore the 100-year-old village and learn more about its founders. Deepen your prayer practice and find a space for solitude on these prayer-saturated grounds. Now's the time for travel and togetherness. Learn more at unityvillage.org/come home.
Experience the difference. Unity Online Radio. The voice of an awakening world. Discover a positive path for spiritual living. Welcome to Voices of Unity with Reverend Jackie Fernandez, Reverend Skip Jennings, and Faith Rivera.
Step away, forward in motion, know where I've been, know where I'm going. Voices rise up, a beautiful sound. There's more than enough music to go around. Everyone step in line with me. Put your hands up, get on your feet. Oh, 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 oh. This is my circle. This is my tribe. Leaning together, we know we're all on the same side. We are stars in the same sky. Circle of stars in the same big sky. We burning brighter than before. We shining on forevermore. Circle of stars in the same big sky.
And I'm Reverend Jackie Fernandez.
And I'm Reverend Skip Jennings.
And we are short one person this week. Big shout out to our sister Faith Rivera, who's in sunny Las Vegas with her parents, celebrating and doing what the folks do in Vegas.
That's right. When I hear the word Vegas, I'm always reminded of the tagline, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Yes. And spiritually there's a Unity minister that says what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah, the spiritual teaching, to be clear, right? To have clarity.
I love that. Even better.
We should have something like that for the show, right? What happens on Voices of Unity stays on Voices of Unity. But also please share with your friends.
Hey, how you doing? You had Sunday off. How was your Sunday?
It was fantastic. And, and I miss my people. I miss my community. It's, that's where I belong on Sundays. But, it's also really nice. I think it's great for the community to have a guest speaker. We had the Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck, who is, known for his metaphysical teachings. And he's got lots of books out there about the 12 powers and heart-centered metaphysics. And he's one of my first teachers in Unity. And he has been associated with Unity Church of Overland Park for many, many years. And so it was great to, to give space for him to be back with the community and that kind of thing. So it's all good. Yeah.
That is so cool.
Yeah. How was your weekend?
It was a little bit of work and a little bit of trying to find some balance in my life. I was teaching at an fitness convention. It's the IDEA Fitness Association, and I taught for IDEA for years. And I took about 5 years off to complete ministerial studies and to complete my my thesis. And it was the first time returning, and I got a chance to talk about meditation and movement and how we connect with the body temple and what's really happening when we're actually working out. We're actually connecting with God. Some people understand that, some people don't. And it was an overwhelming amount of positivity and acceptance. And where I was a little bit nervous, Rev, I got to say I was a little bit nervous because I love to compartmentalize. This is my fitness, Skip Fitness, and Rev Skips on this side. But there was a moment where Spirit just says, just be who you are. And I just freed myself up, and whatever came out was from the divine. And so many people were so grateful for the session. So
Love it.
I had a great weekend. Yes.
Well, I also got to go ding, 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 because you said the word. You said free. Freedom. We're talking all about freedom this week. So that was a perfect tee up. We just did an alley-oop. You went up, and I'm slam dunking it.
I love it.
Which is great, because I'm pretty sure, I haven't met you in person yet, but I'm pretty sure you're taller than me. It's probably just a fact. So I like that I put myself in the position of the slam dunk. But we're in freedom, right? Freedom from the struggle is our topic for today. Oh, to be struggle free.
Oh my goodness.
What do you know about that?
I'm clear about a quote of Buddha that says that, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And so
wow, slow down. You got to say that again. Let that just sit right there. Let me take a sip of water.
Let's slow it down. Pain is inevitable, but suffering's optional.
That's good. That's good.
What teaches me about pain, it's a part of our human incarnation. We're going to experience it, but how we go through it is going to be our choice. And the suffering, I believe, is something that we learn to do, and we choose to stay in it. And yes, trust me, life can be challenging at times, and we go through heartaches of breakup, losing a job, not having money. We go through losing people in our lives, and that is real. It has been real in my life, but we do have the tools so we don't suffer through it. Am I clear on that? Am I making any clarity there?
Oh, yeah, you are. Well, it makes me think of like young kids, like toddlers, young kids. They fall, they get hurt. And you will see parents will say, like, don't react. Because they'll get up, they'll, wipe themselves off and keep on playing. But so what you said is, like, we learn to suffer. Like, the suffering part is something we learn to do. And in those early years, those formative years, often we learn it by other people's reaction. They'd say people teach us how to feel, right? So yeah, it's not to say it didn't hurt, but a lot of times kids will just get up and, dust off the knees and keep going. But if there's a lot of commotion created about it, then they play the part because they feel that assignment, right? That sacred assignment of you are suffering now and you must be in pain, and the tears come and that kind of thing. And not to say that that's I don't want to shame anyone for that kind of response at all. But it just made me think of that when you said that we learn that suffering part.
And then the other side of that, and maybe we'll talk about it later on, there's the side that we don't want to speak of our pain, so we pretend it's not there. So if I don't say, if I say I'm good, and someone asks me how you doing, I'm good. Although inside I'm suffering. And that is a form of enslavement as well, personal enslavement, that I don't have the freedom to say to you, Rev, I'm hurting today.
Yeah. Well, and that's just, yes, and that's an inner violence. I always describe that as an inner violence because you're creating more violence to yourself by pushing that down. And so in that example I just gave, of a child, it's not to say that, depending on the boo-boo and the owie, it's not to say that there's not space, to express that pain. But it's that oftentimes we lose what's authentic in the face of what we think other people expect our response to be. And you're describing that from the very mature adult level as well, that, we might think that we need to say we're okay. And
there is a third aspect to it as well. Do you want to hear the third one?
I do. Bring it.
I've learned, and this is all from self-reflection of what I've done when I've gone through some pain. I will use the pain to be the victim to get compassion, to get attention. So I will milk it. We say, don't be milking them. My mom would say, don't be milking that. And I learned how to milk it to get attention. Yeah. And someone would say, how you doing? I'm going, this is happening and this is happening. And I just continue to go into the spiral. And I think these are all just, there's no shame, like you said. Right. It's just awareness. There's no right or wrong. It's just, we're just being aware of when we're in the middle of a pain and how we're using that pain.
Well, it's so interesting because you're describing there's a pre-existing pain to that. Like if you're milking it, the pre-existing pain is disconnection or loneliness or maybe feeling unloved or uncared for. And so it's not to say, like, so when people say, like, oh, they're faking it or they're milking it, there's a real pain there. It's just not what's being expressed necessarily. But the pain is that pain of disconnection. So there's still, there's, back to Marianne Williamson, right? Everything is either an act of love or a call for love. And so if we can see the bigger picture, see, what's behind that story, so to speak, and see that there is a deeper pain that's being expressed.
And we get to continue to explore and self-reflect and open ourselves up for awareness of when we're either being in the victim of the pain or we're denying the pain or, we're suffering through the pain. That is the first step to alchemization, the first step to shifting it and healing.
Beautiful. I love the quote that you brought forward from Myrtle Fillmore. Can you want to share that?
Yes, and I need to pull it up into my phone. Do you have it there?
So Unity, I do. So Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore, and some people would say, well, Myrtle was really the founder of Unity, and Charles came along. Charles came along for the ride, and they were married, they were working together. Yeah, he was the entrepreneur, but she started the practice first, and he was inspired by that and really wanted to replicate what she was doing. So this, I think, is a quote that you found from Myrtle Fillmore's Healing Letters. Just rest your mind and heart and emotions and body in God-mind. And that's hyphenated, God-mind. Just rest your mind and heart and emotions and body in God-mind.
So, Rev, what is God mind for those who are listening and they're going, well, I kind of get that, but I kind of clarity. So, in your what is God mind in your words?
That that is the realm of all possibility. That is the place of holiness that exists within each of us, exists all around us, everywhere present at all times. And so, when we're kind of like what you described, that milking it experience, or, if we're disconnecting from our pain and engaging that inner violence, or finding ourselves stuck in the struggle, we have probably to a point have disengaged from the God mind. We have lost awareness of that connection. So what that invitation here from Myrtle is to rest the mind, to bring the mind. And I love that she uses the word rest, because when we hear the word struggle, there's a lot of action. There's, whether it's a resistance, there's some kind of engagement, entanglement, and energy and action that we're hearing in that. And she's saying, let go. She didn't say let go, but I'm adding that. It's rest. Rest your mind and heart and emotions and body, just like you talked about, right? It's the whole thing. You're not separating the body element from any of it. It's all together. Rest in God mind.
So if I'm resting in God mind, which I'm understanding, I'm resting and releasing the struggle, I'm in a place of knowing that it's going to be okay. It's okay now.
It is okay.
Everything is, it's okay right now, right where I'm at. I'm experiencing this, and God has not left me. God is still with me. And we can still experience some dis-ease, the discomfort in the body, in the mind. I don't ever believe that we feel a dis-ease in spirit. Spirit is perfect, whole, and complete. So part of our work is aligning our minds and our bodies with our spirit. Part of my dis-ease since COVID, and this is very interesting, and those who know I'm a personal trainer, has been around my body, has been around the 15, 20, my COVID-19 I put on right around my belly. And, I got my COVID weight, and I'm working to remove that a little bit now, to go back to more of a healthy way of living for me. And I know when I'm carrying this extra weight, it doesn't feel healthy to me, and that's just my journey. But I've also started to break out in psoriasis, eczema on my skin. And it could be something, I'm going to see a dermatologist. God is in the medicine. God is in the doctors. So I was trying, I'm going to put a little bit of cortisone here, a little bit of healing medicine here, pray it out. And it started to build around that. It started to get, and I just simply heard, go to the doctor, see what it is. Go, and it's okay. And so that was me releasing the struggle, because I don't really like doctors. And I struggle going to a doctor, and I just heard, release it. It's going to be okay. I'm there with you. God and I have these conversations all the time, Rev. It's okay. I'm going to be with you in that office. So next Thursday, I'm going to see the dermatologist. I've never been to a dermatologist before, but I'm going to release the struggle and go see this dermatologist.
I love it. I love it. Right? It's like, and it really can be that easy. It doesn't feel like it when we're in the struggle, because boy, we get really attached, to it. Even if we're saying, I'm in this struggle, I'm in this pain, I want out, we still get attached to even that, like, sort of feedback loop. We're holding on with a death grip. I'm in pain. I'm in struggle. Somebody help me get out. But you're not letting go. So like you're just holding on to it. And I have a dear friend who passed away just before COVID hit, the Reverend Lonnie Vanderslice, and she would speak this question: how can we make this easy? How can this be easy?
Wow.
How can this be easy?
That reminds me of how can it be easy. I've heard other teachers, and I don't know who have said this first, but I've heard it several times from different teachers saying that we hold on to the struggle or the suffering because that is our proof that we're still alive. We don't know how to live in the easy. We don't know how to live in the easy. We know how to live in the struggle. We know how to live in the struggle very well, but we don't know how to live in the easy.
That's like, I'm going to have to think about that. Well, it takes me right back to the birth canal, right? We come out in a struggle, right? It makes perfect sense. Our brains are immediately the first experience. We're coming out in a struggle, So that makes sense. I never thought about that. That becomes then the pattern for life, for living, the proof that we are here. And then immediately we're hungry, we need, we want, we long for something. And ultimately, I think that ultimate need and longing is for God and that return to wholeness.
Yeah.
But wow.
And I've asked you on this show before, and this is something that we talked about a couple of months ago. Does transformation requires pain? Remember we talked about that? It was a couple of months ago.
What did I say? I always reserve the right to change my mind. So if you go back and listen to that episode, what I was saying that day may not be what I'm about to say now. But I love, what you quoted the Buddha, like it's, we are going to experience pain, but we choose suffering. And so, but that's not really the same question as does transformation experience pain, or require pain. That's, in light of what you're saying about like to prove that we're alive, it's almost like to prove that there has been growth, that maybe we need something to hurt, some shedding, that shedding experience. Does it hurt the caterpillar to become, a butterfly?
Because it's very violent. That cocoon, it's wet, it's violent. They got to fight to get out another birth. So, this question comes up, and I've heard this teaching, and it's in many songs, every, love song. We must know pain so that we may know love. Or we must know the goodness of something so we know, or the bad of something so we know the good of something. So is it ingrained within us in our subconscious to know the good? We must have a different or an opposite kind of effect. And so I'm going to go on the limb and saying, no, we don't have to have. Because there's been moments I've stepped out my house, and I think this is what you said too. I've stepped into nature and I heard a bird sing, and I went, oh my God, there's God.
Yeah.
And I was transformed because of that bird.
And it didn't require pain.
Didn't require pain.
But it's like so what were you transformed from in that moment?
I think it was a deeper awareness that of the everywhere presence of God. It was a deeper awareness of that God is singing for me. It was a deeper awareness that, God is for me. So I step out of my house, I hear a bird singing. So God is saying, here you go, boo. I got you. Here you go. Enjoy this song.
Yeah.
So the transformation is a deeper awakening of my oneness with spirit.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I think I'm remembering now when I said it, because I'm feeling it again, is that it's not required, because then that would be like saying that anyone who is pain-free and living can't transform or can't experience some growth, some spiritual growth. And I don't think that can be true. I think it is often pain becomes a catalyst for growth, like the whole idea of hitting rock bottom, in addiction and recovery. It's that moment that really often sets people on a path to true recovery, because you'll hear them, people say after they relapse, it's not until they truly hit rock bottom that they're motivated enough to get out of that pain and truly go on that path of recovery. Now, I don't think we don't have to, right? We don't have to hit rock bottom. We don't have to have, some painful, traumatic experience in order to receive the beauty of what you described, of stepping out and seeing a beautiful bird and being reminded and being taken deeper into the awareness of God and the experience of God. It didn't have to begin with pain in order for you to move into that.
So let's speak to the challenges of Earth School, and I'm very, very clear. A friend of mine, I think I spoke about this last week. My friend Peggy Zimmerman, who's a practitioner at Agape, I've known her for over 15 years. Made her transition on the 4th of July, and it really touched me in a deep way, and it triggered some type of a dark night of the soul. And I was going through it, and I've been studying the dark night for a long time, but I went deeper into the book that Reverend Michael wrote, Michael Bernard Beckwith, Spiritual Liberation, and he talked about the dark night. So I've been praying about this and asking God, show me, why are we going through these challenges? And, I had this overwhelming feeling that we're here to learn how to make our way back to the stars, that each and every challenge or each and every thing that we do is helping us to know our divinity. I love what you said a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago. You said that, God doesn't give us these things so that we may, have an awakening or whatever. I don't know how you put it. I'm paraphrasing you, but you did say that we can find meaning in everything that we experience. And that shifted the way I saw, these challenges. But I really, truly believe that I want to bring meaning to all these challenges that I've had in my life. I want to bring meaning. I want to bring meaning to each and every heartbreak that I've had. And I'm going to ask, why? Why is Peggy not here? And she was doing so well with her cancer diagnosis. It was cancer-free for a very long time. It came back up, and, it went to her brain, and she made a transition. I experienced the pain of that.
Yeah.
I experienced it, so I want to ask God why.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the question, right? That's the $1 million question. If we could get an answer at any point in time, thank you, God, to that question.
When we cross over, do you think it's just going to load right into us, and we're going to go, that's it. Thank you.
Well, but I think we don't even have to wait that long. I think what you're saying is the key to that is that we are the meaning makers. And if we make a choice to suffer, or we can make a choice to make meaning of it. What is the meaning? I mean, I had just mentioned my dear friend, Reverend Lonnie Vanderslice. She, 3 weeks from diagnosis of colon cancer to transition, 3 weeks. And, she had just been with her wife down in Peru and hiking 14,000 feet. It was completely out of the blue and unexpected. And, so that path that you're talking about, like, we can make a choice to make meaning as opposed to suffering. And it's not a straight, even path. Like, I think we dip down, and we go sideways and a little here and there on our way to make meaning, because we begin to unpack all of those hidden beliefs, like why God. I mean, even asking that question, there's looking for something to blame, that there must be a reason for this, when it very simply could be that there is no reason for it, and yet we are meaning makers, and we want what we feel and what we experience to have story, and that, back to what you said about seeking life. If we have story, we have life. And we have meaning, and there's a purpose maybe built into all of that. So that all wrapped together becomes the freedom from the struggle. And sometimes I think in the process, when we think, when we're experiencing that struggle of choosing to make meaning versus choosing suffering, that becomes like some sense of failure, that I'm not experiencing my freedom because I'm lugging this really heavy suitcase along with me the whole time, and it doesn't feel like freedom. And it may very well be freedom. It just isn't as easy as, we would like to say it is. It's not all, I'm going to say rainbows and unicorns, but but that doesn't, not in the way that means, rainbows and unicorns are, unicorns are living beings who bleed if you cut them, right? I mean, don't come at me with that's a mythical creature. Don't come at me with that, because it's real. Because we
does it all the time.
Yes,
Faith comes with the unicorn all the time, so we can use it as well.
Yes.
It's so funny, as you're talking, I am very clear that we are the only species that can have an existential experience. Like a dog doesn't want to walk around going, "Why am I a dog?"
Yeah.
A cat doesn't go around going,
"Why don't the cats like me? Why don't the cats, I just want to be friends. I just want to play ball. Just want to, Yeah. It really, that music means it's time for a break. So we'll be back, and we're going to hear some music from our dear Faith, and we'll continue talking about freedom from the struggle. What does it mean to be free?
We're glad you found us. This is Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Explore new thought philosophy and a lot more. Welcome back to Voices of Unity.
And we're back. Reverend Jackie Fernandez.
Reverend Skip Jennings, we are back.
You're talking about freedom from the struggle. It is great, because right before we came back, I'm gonna go ahead and tell them myself. Skip said, "So how's paleo going?" Because I started at the end of January. I started keto diet, ketogenic diet, and then I switched about a month and a half ago now, I think, to paleo. But I'm doing this, and some like the upshot is, I'm struggling. Ha ha. What are we talking about today? Freedom from the struggle. I'm struggling, and it's not like, how can we make this easy? It's not a problem. It's not a problem, but I feel less confident in just my food choices, where I had keto down. I was in my creative jam with it. I knew what ingredients I needed, and I could make art with those ingredients. And then as I switched, I was really happy with the variety that paleo got me, but I was still trying to do kind of a little bit of keto, which, there's this message inside my head that's like, but that's not keto. It's either it is or it ain't keto. so I just have this lack of clarity. I am in the struggle with it. I am. So what's my way to get free from this struggle? I had queued up some Myrtle Fillmore, and this is from a different book, How to Let God Help You. So let's see how God can help me in this struggle. And so she says, "It is up to you to accept your God-given perfection for yourself. Put aside the past mistakes and the untrue suggestions, and fix your undivided attention upon the creator of your inner pattern of perfection. I mean, right there, right? Fix your undivided attention upon the creator of your inner pattern of perfection. This is the secret of success in all spiritual treatments. You must bring all of your mental attitudes, the centers of your consciousness, and even your physical structures to this high place in divine mind where you see as God sees. Oh, Myrtle! Oh, she gets me every time. So good. That's so good. You know, and the Fillmores were, they founded the first vegetarian restaurant in Kansas City. They were vegetarians. They took, body, mind, heart, spirit, all of it. And so, I can be in the flow with this and bless my food, whatever meal choices I'm making. I'm still choosing mindfully. I don't, it's not like I feel like I've gotten off the track. I just don't feel that same flow of excitement about eating that I had.
I love, Keeping a True Lent. Is my book, Lent Time, where I'm completely vegetarian or vegan, pretty much vegan. I haven't done it the last couple of years, but there is a pathway that Charles and Myrtle set up of reading and embracing vegetarianism and the scriptures around it. And Keeping a True Lent is an incredible book. It is really an incredible book. And then when I follow that, I come out of Lent, I feel so good in my body and my mind. My spirit is vibrating at a different level. And then automatically we go into Easter, and then you just start to fill up with all the
ham, sweet potato pie.
I know. We have a song from Faith, yeah?
Yeah. Well, No Resistance. No Resistance is the title of the song, and it's a good Jamaican, vibing summer song, Hawaiian. So let's hear it. Thank you, Jess.
No resistance to you. Do with me what you will. Oh yeah. Learn to go in the flow of things. No resistance to you. No resistance to you. No resistance to you. Been short on time these passing days. Can't seem to get them dishes done. Feels like my probe is my true home. I eat cheeseburgers on the run, and I feel like I try to find some control, but my life is taking me on a ride of its own. Gotta tell myself to have no resistance to you. Do with me what you will. Oh yeah. Learn to go in the flow of things. No resistance to you. Oh no, no resistance to you. No resistance to you.
Yeah, so I heard I ate a cheeseburger on the run. Did I hear that lyric right? Did you hear that lyric? I ate a cheeseburger on the run.
She did. I'm listening to the song and I'm reminded of Job and how Job was just in it. I mean, in Job, in the midst of his whatever you want to call it, his experience of losing his family and losing his children and losing his home and being homeless and his skin, he had boils. Job went through it, and he says, but God's enough. God's enough. And I hear this surrendering to everything that we are going through, that this too is in God. And I mentioned at the top of the show about going through a little bit of a dark night, and I'm not going to call it a little bit of a dark. I'm going through a dark night, which is lightening up now. I'm seeing the light. And I've been reading Spiritual Liberation by Michael Bernard Beckwith. At the very back of the book, the last chapter, it is The Dark Night of Soul. How do we maneuver through the dark night of the soul? And he writes this affirmation on 245, and he says this. This is the affirmation. I surrender to the alchemy of the dark night of the soul. I give my consent to its transforming touch and am patient in the midst of my discomfort. I am open, receptive, and resist not. Even now, I sense the soul activity taking place within me and am grateful for it. So even saying no resistance, do what you want with me, and oh, I can be grateful for this. I got to say, I'm not 100% there today. There are moments I am. But today, I'm just really being honest. I'm just, but I do see where the alchemization is happening within me. I am coming out different. But do what with me? Sometimes that's a hard mouthful to spit out. I mean,
those are some words. Like, it's like when Janice Stanfield wrote the song "Bring It On." She was like, I should have thought twice before I told the universe to bring it on. And, I think it made me think what you read there by Michael Beckwith. It's our suffering. So we experience pain, but our suffering comes from what we think about our pain.
It's a struggle. Our suffering is a struggle.
Yeah, that's the struggle. That's the struggle is what we think, what we judge, either about ourselves or others. If we feel like someone has inflicted pain upon us, our suffering becomes, is fed by the judgments we have about the person or about what they said or what they did. Or in your case, you're experiencing loss and grief. And so the pain and if we just sit, what I'm hearing him say, if we just sit in that, and we sit in our gratitude for even be able to sit at all, even being able to sit at all.
And the gratitude is, for me has been, I am grateful in this moment. And sometimes I can't even tell you what I'm going to be grateful for. And sometimes I don't need to, but just speaking it, the law of gratitude says that when we speak gratitude, we receive more to be more grateful for. So sometimes I can just be in the midst of my suffering and in the pain going, I'm grateful that I know that God is here. God is with me, because the belief becomes knowing. There is a belief, and first we start with hope, then we begin to believe, and then we know. So even going through these little experiences or big experiences of pain and suffering, I know that God is there. And when we begin to build our knowing and our awareness of our oneness, I believe that we get to move differently through these interesting times.
Yeah, so good. Move differently.
In these interesting times.
Yeah, in these interesting times. How interesting. Well, that's interesting. Again, that pulls us out of judgment, because, death, bad, loss, bad. Those are judgments. And I'm not here to try to correct that for anyone, because I have those same judgments. Loss, bad, death, bad, and when I dip into the truth, there is no loss. Death isn't bad because there is no true death.
Right.
I know. And that doesn't mean that I don't experience grief and loss. It doesn't mean that, and so, when we get into that conversation about spiritual bypass, we're not trying to avoid feelings. We're not trying to avoid experience, but it's about the judgments that we make because those inform our beliefs, right? So sitting in the truth is the way to achieve no resistance. I think that's what the song was speaking to.
Absolutely. I was going to just say that. And sometimes the resistance and sometimes the suffering, like you said, Rev, is when we are holding on to these belief systems. So my family are a family full of morticians and ministers, and my brother's a mortician. He's also
quite a family business.
quite a family business. And he was the first one who really taught me about him going into the mortuary business. It's that this is really just a gateway. And how do we focus on? And I asked him once early on in his career, how do you embalm people? How are you doing this? And he embalmed my aunt, and he's embalmed my sister. I mean, he literally, our sister, he did this work.
Wow. Wow.
Said, Skip, they're not there. They're not there. They have gone into what he called heaven, which I call expansive good. So what am I focusing on? And that has been part of this journey of Peggy's transformation but she's on a journey of life after life. It's a constant reminder, because I do want to make this a good and bad situation.
Mm-hmm. So Myrtle's words, just rest your minds and heart and emotions and body in God mind.
Is that self-talk? Do you have to do self-talk to yourself to remind yourself to rest?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, Myrtle taught that. She healed herself from tuberculosis or something like that. We know that was a catch-all diagnosis in her time. But she sat in meditation for hours at a time and for years. It took years for her to experience her healing. And, that is commitment. That is learning, and I think there is a learning curve to this work, because if it came naturally, we wouldn't even have to have the conversation, right?
Right. So I am very much around self-talk. I'm very much about that, of sitting down and just having a conversation with myself, having a conversation with God. And sometimes it is repetitive because these feelings come up. So sometimes it's, God is right where I'm at, no matter what I feel. God is right where I'm at, no matter where I feel. And sometimes it's just that is my meditation. That could be my meditation today.
Yeah. Well, it's beautiful because you're rewriting the thought patterns, that might lead you to, your sort of learned path to suffering, right? That, your thought habits, if you will, that might take you to a suffering story. You're rewriting that, you're interrupting that. And I think that's what the key is to release. It's, the mind typically and the emotions that will engage that struggle. And so when we can interrupt that activity, then we can truly be in the flow. We can truly be in that state of non-resistance and experience true freedom. Because then whatever happens, we are still in the midst of it and connected to spirit, connected to self, both capital S self and lowercase s self,
What has been really amazing, and we've had the benefits of being of service throughout this pandemic in different ways. And we have seen an outpouring of people wanting to find a relief from suffering. May it be prayer, or may it be joining us on this radio show or our podcast, there's been an outpouring of people saying, I want relief. I want to move past this, especially with this pandemic, also known as the Sacred Reset, which I love to call it. And I believe that was a call for us to surrender to this process of what we're being home in isolation. And I love how we showed up. Yeah. I always say this. I wish that I had a little stock in Zoom right now. I had so many Zoom calls, but thank God for Zoom.
Yeah. The way that technology is so widely available,
that's right.
Has been a true gift throughout this whole pandemic experience, because it has allowed people to stay connected who might otherwise have been very isolated. And the truth is, there are plenty of people without access or ability and who have experienced that isolation. But boy, it has been a gift, to be able to continue to connect. And and it has been part of, my healing and sanity throughout all of this, to be able to do this work, because in order to even have this conversation we're having today, we've got to do our own work around it and really explore how we live into this or not, and where we don't.
Yeah, and speaking of what we're doing, we have a virtual retreat that's coming up.
Yes, we do. A playcation, end of summer playcation. Come on now.
What a great title of a retreat, playcation, because playing, I believe, is the opposite of suffering.
Yeah.
So we get to play in a place of just at the end of the summer, we get to play.
Yeah. So August 28th, Saturday, August 28th. And we will have our registration available soon, like this week, I think, at 3 p.m. Central Time. So it's the same time as the radio show, just a different day of the week. It's on Saturday. So you can go out and get your stuff done in the morning and find a comfortable place at home or at a park, outside in your yard, on your deck, whatever, and log in. And it'll be a 3-hour retreat with the three of us. And we'll be working body, mind, and spirit.
Body, mind, and spirit. And we had our first kind of meeting of going through what we envision. And I think it's going to be, I know it's going to be a beautiful experience.
Yes.
And we want to invite you to, the great thing about retreating, which I love, is I get to release my everyday processes, my everyday I guess my habits and things I do and my routine.
Sure.
That's where I'm looking for release. And I get to retreat from that, to retreat to something. And we're giving you the opportunity just to let go of the busyness. And we know it's another Zoom call, but it's going to be so interactive. We're going to move.
Yeah, it'll be a Zoom experience, right? It'll be a Zoom experience. Yeah.
Which is going to lead into actually having a live event in 22, which I'm so excited for, in Hawaii. Aloha, y'all.
Yeah, baby. Oh, yeah. Give us the beach.
And then and Faith sent us a couple of places that she's looking at. They're beautiful, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, amazing. I cannot wait for this. So that'll be in September of 2022 is what we're aiming for. And those details should be unfolding very soon. So she's doing that legwork of getting it narrowed down to the space. And yeah, it's going to be amazing.
You've never been to Hawaii, right?
I have not. I have not. I've been to the very edge of the West Coast.
You've been right at the edge, but you haven't jumped in. Okay. Yeah. So that's going to be a great experience. I used to live in Hawaii. I was stationed at Hickam Air Force Base on Oahu. And I always had a feeling that I would go back to Hawaii to retire. Or not really to retire, but I knew that there would be something drawing me back. I love Hawaii. It's one of my very favorite places to be in, so I'm excited about that.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to share that experience with you. It's going to be extraordinary. So until then, make plans for Saturday, August 28th, 3 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Pacific, and I think is that 10 or 11 Hawaii time?
I think it's 11 Hawaii time. Or actually, it's going to be 10 Hawaii time, 1 Pacific time, and 3 Central time.
3 Central time, and 4 on the East Coast. Yeah, we're getting our East Coast. Well, Hawaii is tricky because they don't do the daylight savings, so it's a different. Depending on what time of year it is, it's a different time gap.
Which I still don't understand why we still do it, but I get it.
But, we're not going to be worried about that on the 28th. We're going to be in our playcation. We're going to create a playful space of, creativity. And, we're going to have, a place of creativity. We'll do some body work. We'll move. We'll groove. We'll have some chanting and singing. And, oh, my goodness, it's going to be a solid 3 hours.
It's funny, as you were talking, I just caught myself in the middle of a struggle because I always fight daylight saving times. I'm like, why? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to do it? I hate this every time we do this. I go through my own mental pissosity, which creates my own turmoil and struggle and going, it's just a change of time. Skip, breathe, rest in God mind.
That's great self-awareness. Yeah, that's great self-awareness. That's, like if we could add up all of those little ways, that seemingly benign ways that we create struggle for ourselves, if we could add that up, it's like, when you go through all the ways that you overspend, or you're spending money that you don't even realize you're spending, that you don't need to spend. Like if we get clarity around that, and oh my goodness, it can have massive results, like for good.
My Amazon account, are you talking to me? Are you preaching to me?
No, sir.
I ask myself every time before I go and purchase anything these days, do I really need another pair of black shoes? Or do I really need another pair of Jordans? Or do I really have to have that self-talk, because mindless spending creates suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when it's time to write out that rent check, y'all. It's like, oh, well.
Yeah. And I love that you can laugh about it, because that's it. Like, how, if we can position ourselves in such a way that, silly human, there I am being human again, being in my experience, and we don't have to shame ourselves. We don't have to belabor it. We can just simply release from it, just like you just stepped right out of that daylight saving struggle. You just stepped right out of it. It's just an hour. Like,
an hour.
I get it back. You can get it back.
And, it's funny because your body will acclimate to the time eventually, and it's okay. It's just rest in God mind again. I love that quote. That's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah. So we remind myself, just rest. Yeah. Little Skip, just rest.
I love it. I'm surprised do you have an acronym for rest?
I don't.
Is that an acronym? Yeah, I know you're going to give me one. I know it.
Oh my goodness! You put me on the spot now, so I might have one for the after show.
Remember, everyone saves time. I know that doesn't work. No, that's not good. That's not good. But it just kind of speaks to the whole daylight savings. You're gonna give it. You're gonna meditate on that.
By the after show, by the after party, I'll work on that when we do our crossover over to Facebook Live. Which
I love it. Yeah.
Us on the after party where it's myself and Reb, we continue to move through this, and I love this month. I'm feeling a little bit more free. I'm feeling a little bit more free.
And it feels so good, right? It's so expansive, which is the truth of our being, right? It's the truth of the universe. And it really can be that simple in the moment, and we make it so hard. And so I think, our path is like, to be struggle free. So when I get that awareness, why am I making a big fuss about daylight savings? I don't have to do that. Like it can be that simple, and that becomes the pattern of awareness and shift, awareness and shift, awareness and shift. I want to give you a big hug.
Thank you. I received that hug, and I have a little saying that I always, catch myself and going, Skip, that's a Gucci problem, honey. there are other bigger things if you want to worry. That's a Gucci problem right there. Yeah. So, I get to be in a place of gratitude. I'm talking about my body. I get to move, though. I get to teach yoga. I get to get on my spin bike, and I get to. And shifting our perspective.
Yeah. And same for me with, my diet, my keto, paleo. I mean, literally first world problems. Which food am I going to eat today? I get to choose, and that's, not the case for everyone, even in my community, So I close with gratitude. I close with gratitude for the awareness, for the connection, and for the presence of God that abides through everything.
And I echo that gratitude as well.
All right. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you for listening to Unity Online Radio, the voice of an awakening world.
Have you always wanted to visit Unity Village? Or maybe you long to return? Join the Come Home to Unity Retreat, October 14th to 17th. Meet other Unity people from all over the country. Explore the 100-year-old village and learn more about its founders. Deepen your prayer practice and find a space for solitude on these prayer-saturated grounds. Now's the time for travel and togetherness. Learn more at unityvillage.org/come home.